Metric Motorcycle Madness presents Vulcan 800 front turn signal replacement. Hey guys, Metric Motorcycle Madness. So today we're replacing the front directionals on the Kawasaki Vulcan. Get this, and we have the bike jacked up right now because we're waiting on a retainer for the wheel bearings. So you can see the wheels off here. So these little Chinese Harley style directionals are cute, but they're LED, they don't work. They make the relay flash too fast with the rear halogens that I just replaced. The wiring only has two wires. They only work as either running lights or only as, well, they can't even work as running lights because they screw up the rear. But they will only flash as directionals, basically. And they're not bright at all. They're dull as a piss. So these are jokes. So we're taking them off and we're replacing with an aftermarket turn signal. However, these are just an OEM replacement. They're much cheaper than the actual OEM ones, which are about $50 a pop, I think. So this one was like 28 around here. So I'm waiting for the other one in the mail because they came from two different suppliers. I got these on Amazon just because you can get them on eBay too, but I wanted 2-day shipping. So anyways, these have the 3-wire design, so hopefully these will work fine as running lights as well if they are a truly OEM replacement. So to remove these little crappy ones, they have a little hex wrench, a little socket cap here and on the back side, and then, well, that will just unclamp them, and then we'll just remove some of the janky wiring that was left here by the previous owner. So I'm not sure what size hex wrench this is. However, this is probably, I don't know, like a 3.5 millimeter. I don't know, somewhere around there. Doesn't really matter. So just a quick note, these work for 41 millimeter forks, these ones that came on the Vulcan. They're pretty much virtually identical to the ones here on the Shadow that are OEM ones on there. So on this one, it has like a 8 millimeter, looks like a regular socket you'd have to use to unbolt it. This one doesn't appear to come with hardware, so I will have to put my own hardware on to clamp them down. Now, hopefully, the hope is that these will stretch apart far enough where I can just pop it over the fork, since there's really no two-piece design with how it sits around the fork with these ones. If they don't, I will have to loosen the pinch bolts and the tree here and actually slide the forks out, and then I will have to slide them from the top down to sit where they need to. So if we do end up having to do it that way, you would have to remove the wheel and the fender, tire, and brake caliper, which I've already done. So if you need to do that, please watch our tire replacement video because that shows how to do that. But I'm hoping we don't have to take the forks out. Hopefully that would be much easier not to. So we're going to check that here, take this out of the package before we unbolt these, and see if it will pop over the fork first. See if we need to save myself some effort. So this clamp is nice and soft, so I should be able to stretch it just fine over the fork and not have to remove the forks. So you should be good there with these ones at least, and these are from Bike Master, in case you're wondering. So an aftermarket but OEM replacement kind of deal. Nice little chrome paint over the plastic. So we've got the 3 wires. We've got a black with a white line, and just a black, and then a red So I'll have to figure out what goes into the wiring here. Coming out of the bike, we have a black with a yellow line. We have a gray and a green, I believe, coming out of the headlight wiring harness that goes to the directionals. So these come with little shit pin connectors. If I had females on the end there, I'd probably use those. But I'm probably going to replace these with some better insulated ones here at some point before we put them back together. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. So like I said, they were just two little things there. And the wiring was already removed prior, and some dumbass put house connections on there. Those are not for automotive use, guys. Those are for like outlets in your house. Would these work in a pinch? Yes, but those are not really meant for automotive stuff. So I'm just gonna remove all this crap wiring here, pull all the wires off, and then I will go ahead and remove these, and we'll add the new ones on. Okay, so Genius before decided to put the grounds to these onto the frame, which is fine, because you can still ground stuff from the frame, but there are negative wires coming out of the headlight terminal. I don't know why he didn't use those. And I'm just going to go ahead and clip these. And then I can go ahead and pull the shit wiring off of here. And this little cute thing is out. To go in the box of shit to throw out. So I don't know if the wiring actually went through that hole before, or if that's even what it's meant for. But we may utilize that again, I don't know. So I'm just going to remove both ends now. And basically all you got to do is insert this over the fork. And these do have left and right sides, just be aware when you order them. This one is labeled here, right at the bottom. I don't know if you can see here, it does say left, like right there. So this will be on the left side and with your wiring facing down, and we'll clamp over the fork. You'll have to find a generic bolt situation to bolt these down with. I would probably grab something not too long, of course. Might not really need to be that wide per se for the bolt itself, but grab something with some wider washers maybe, and some split washers or crush washers, something like that, to help keep it from moving around. So we're going to put these on, and then we'll clamp them down, make sure they're straight, and then we're just going to show you how to wire this. So I feel silly from before, but yeah, these were actually meant to just cinch right up. Your bolt is going to pass right through there, through the directional. So that's what those were meant for, not wiring. So those look good. A little bit tipped inwards. You can see from where that hole sits, but that's alright. That's what it's meant to do, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna go find a bolt to fit through there. So they're a little bit tipped inwards, but they are now on here. We have them bolted through. We have some split lock washers so they don't back out or move around, and they look pretty good. They look how they're supposed to. And if you notice, not much headlight wobble now. It's not jiggling back and forth as much. There's still a little bit, and we're not really going to be able to solve that per se, but it's about as good as we're going to get. So now we're going to wire them. So we have the 3 sets of wires here. Now there's a lot of extra length here we're going to have to get rid of probably, because I don't feel like tying up all this extra wiring and insulation. It's just going to look kind of crappy. I mean, there's a couple feet of wiring here on each of these. So we have these little pin connectors that they like to throw on these. However, trying to find generic females to these at the automotive stores are kind of hard. The little tiny pin connectors. Usually the ones you buy, the pin connectors are about twice the diameter of this. So I'm not going to go fucking around looking for trying to find identical ones. These are cheap anyways, so when we get the length that we need, we're going to cut these off and put some better ones on there. So with this, you need to make sure that for each side of the turn signal that you have enough wiring going to up in here where it won't interfere with turning left and right the forks both ways. It's not so much a big a deal because the headlight, obviously, and most of the wiring is coming off and it's in the same location of the turn signals. However, the wiring harness, you got to remember, is coming off the bike. So if the wiring harness gets tugged around for some reason and you don't have enough length of these, then you might have them disconnect going down the road, and that would be a problem. Kitty. He's a mama. You look like Boo Boo. Boo Boo was bigger though. Where did you come from? Where did you come from, little kitty? Do you want to come work on motorcycles with me? Huh? So I've got the cable cut plenty short here to where I need it, so I'm going to test the wiring now. So the let's see, the black with yellow stripe in it is going to be the ground. So from your turn signal, the black is the ground. That's going to match up with that. Your red is going to be your positive, and I think the black with this is coming off the turn signal, the red and the black with the white wire are going to be two more positives. Coming out of the wiring harness, you have two blue wires, which I believe are going to be positives. You have a green and a gray, which I believe are going to be the relay positives, and then of course the two black with yellow stripes, which are just grounds. So I'm going to now just the connections on there before I put detachable connections, or actually I'm not even going to put detachable connections on these. I'm just going to put crimp connections because I don't have a reason to disconnect them later on. However, it's not a bad idea because if you're trying to troubleshoot something, you can disconnect them, and that also allows you to pull wiring off. And the problem with putting the crimp connections, which I'm going to do, is they're permanent, which is what I want. But if something screws up and you need to disconnect them, then you have to cut them off, and then you're shortening your wiring harness more. And the more you shorten it and the more connections you have to put in line, it's just going to look all shitty. Sorry, I'm trying to find the key here. Too many damn keys. Here we go. Okay. So let's put this on. Now we have the turn signal on the right hand side lighting up, but also on the back, so I don't think the wiring's correct here. No. So our back. So that is not correct. You can see that's lit up, and both of them are lit up as running lights, but they're not flashing. I don't believe that's correct right now. Unless that's due to me just not having the other one plugged in. But I'm going to try. So right now I have the black and with the white line connected to one of the blues, and ground shouldn't really matter, and I have the red connected to the gray. So I'm going to try reversing those, putting the red wire on the blue and the black with the white line on the gray, see if maybe that fixes that, or if it needs to be the other way around. Okay, so same deal. So either I need to put the second one's wiring in, or reversing the wiring doesn't matter. So I'm going to cut the wiring from the other one, hook that up, see if this helps. Okay guys, so I'm going to finish this up now. I found there is the left side directionals. You're going to have the green wire matching up with the black and white line wire, the blue coming off the bike matching up with red, and the ground, which is the black with a yellow stripe, matching up with the black on the turn signal for the left hand side. For the right, again, red and blue, the black and yellow, and then the gray matching up with the black with the white line. So the way this works is if everything works correctly, you should have turn signals and running lights, though I don't know if there appears to be 2 filaments in here, but it only is using 1, which is weird. But it does work, I guess. The problem I'm having is it either flashes if I disconnect the red and blues, either just flashes in the front and rear fine, or if I have it connected the way I do right now, I have running lights in the front and rear, and then they kind of dimly flash, and the indicator light doesn't light up very bright like normal. So I don't really care at this point. I just need these to work in some fashion. So that's how I'm going to do this, and I'm going to tape up each of these connections and then shrink wrap over it, or actually, I'm just going to go with some plastic tubing to protect it. Now what I had happen, well, I couldn't get them to flash at all before, was number one, I blew the fuse for the turn signal underneath the seat again and didn't realize that. Number two, I found another interesting thing where if I remove the ground from the left side, the ground wire from the left side, up front there, underneath the seat, that one still works fine. So I don't know if it's grounding through the frame rails or what, but that one doesn't do it on that end. Strange, but whatever, those work. What I did find is that the flasher unit, the relay, is bad, and that's what was causing it to not flash with the running lights on. So this can be replaced, and I think that's what I'm going to do at some point here. That's why I kept the plug and the wires here. So if you see here, so what I did is I cut this out, and I found this is the problem. So you can go in and get a replacement for this. It's about $38, I think, brand new for one of these. So I'm going to pick up one of those at some point. There's the numbers if you guys need it. So this was bad, so it was only either doing one or the other. It wasn't really flashing correctly. So anyway, so what I did to test to see if this was bad or not was I went down to AutoZone and I got a 3-prong 12.8 volt generic flasher, and I bought one that was 2 to 4 bulbs, and it was like 168 watt max. It's meant for a car, but I mean, that's, as long as everything's fused properly, that's fine to use, and it would flash LEDs also. It was like a something number 34 flasher, and what all I did was I took the little rubber piece that sits off here that goes onto it and just zip tied it onto the new one. And I'm not going to show you underneath the seat, but with that one, because it's 3-prong, what I had to do was connect, of course, if you look down here, there's an L and a B. So you have to match that up with the new one and wire, because the new one takes like car connections. So I used these style connections to connect it to there, and then just a crimp to connect it to the original wires here from the harness. But it has a third connection on the other one, and that is an E. It says E on it. So the L and B are going to be the two positives. The E is going to be a ground. So since the battery was right there, all I did was put a circle connection on it, right onto the battery, and it started working fine. So I'll show you what these look like right now. Just make sure none of these items are touching while I'm before I tape them up. As you can see, that's off how it's supposed to be. Both of these are lighting up as running lights in the rear, which I believe this is an issue with the generic relay, and that's probably why I need. I mean, that's cool. That I like that, but these are cheap. These might burn the bulbs out. They're not really meant to stay on. And we have running lights in the front. Problem being, of course, these aren't super bright when they flash because they're flashing the same element. And they're fine on the left also. I don't know. I'm fine with this as long as nothing screws up, but I'm gonna order the original one at some point here, and hopefully that will cure that. If it does not cure that, I have no idea then at that point. Everything's wired as correctly as it can. I've checked everything, replaced the fuse. So this is pretty much done. The other thing I did change around how these were mounted. Originally I had one end going around and the other end going around, and that metal piece coming off the headlight mount clamping in the middle, and that worked fine. Actually, that worked okay, but the one issue I had was they were tipped in slightly, and actually, to be honest, they are tipped out just a very tad bit now, but they look a little bit better. But the other issue was this was not clamping down all the way onto the fork, so the headlight still had a little bit of wobble. So I just moved both of the plastic pieces to the front side of that metal hole, and then basically clamped this down onto the metal piece. As you can see, it's in the front and the metal piece is in the back. Just be gentle, but this did help sure up the headlight quite a bit, so and straighten these out. So I'm just going to go ahead and tape these up now, and these are good as they're going to get for the moment. Alright, thanks guys. Next video we're probably going to do is an oil change, and if I haven't already, I already have a front tire replacement video coming out for that, and show you how to take the wheel off and replace the tire. Alright.